start where I start every time, and that is to say thank you for allowing me to continue to serve as your sheriff. I still love this job every day. I can't wait to get up and put this uniform on. It is truly a blessing for me. One of the things that makes it such a great blessing is we not only have a great community that protects us, but I am surrounded by an amazing team. In fact, we were just laughing. I was telling somebody that I'm surrounded by a great team, and I'm smart enough to stay out of their way. So it's my greatest leadership quality that I possess is staying out of their way. But if you will, please, when you see one of our team out there, I don't care what role they play, whether they're one of our deputies, one of their corrections, one of our people that fixes our computers, or somebody that does our payroll, let them know how much you appreciate what they're doing, because they is truly, truly amazing what they're doing out there. I'll kind of jump right into the job they're doing. I just got, actually, at the end of June, we turn in our uniform crime report to the FDLE and to the FBI. We do it at 6 months intervals, and so we just turned in, took us a little bit to calculate and everything, but we just turned in our 6 months uniform crime report, and I am very proud to tell you that in the unincorporated areas of the county, we are down in every single crime except, and this is a big except, but except for homicide. Homicide is the only one that we're not down in. In fact, we're up in it. It's an anomaly. I've never seen anything like this. We've had the same amount of actual incidents, homicides, as we had the previous year, but these have all been double homicides. In Palm Bay, we had a triple homicide, so obviously that drives our number up. But I will tell you that those homicides, unfortunately, are in the two areas that really limits what we can control. One of them is in the domestic violence arena, and the other is in the drug arena. That's the other one is tough for us. But other than that, every crime we have is down. Burglary, auto theft, sex crimes, robbery, cars being broken into. Remember last time we was here, we talked about that a lot. All of those are down. We've seen another 5% reduction at the 6 month mark. So if we stay on course in the last at that point it'll be 5 years, our crime rate will have dropped right at 20%. So pretty good, and that's truly a testament of the job that our team's doing, but equally the job that our community's doing, because you guys partner with us. You can't believe the amount of crime we saw from community engagement. I'll use as an example our Wheel of Fugitive. How many of you have seen Wheel of Fugitive? Anybody seen that? If you haven't, how many of you do Facebook? Let me start there. If you don't do Facebook, you can go to YouTube and see it as well. But we put up every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, we put up Wheel of Fugitive. And it has taken off. In fact, Wheel of Fugitive actually started, I was talking to a group, much like this group, and I was telling them a little bit about me and my philosophies, and I said, I want to go after criminals so bad. I said, I think we ought to have a big giant wheel, and which we spin it, and whoever it lands on is who we're going after that week. And everybody started clapping. And so I thought, maybe that's not a crazy idea, maybe that's a good idea. So in the next group I spoke to, I did the same thing, and everybody started clapping. So I went to a buddy of mine, some of you in this room may know him, Scott Glover, and I said, Scott, he's a guy that likes to build stuff in his shop, and I said, I need you to build me a wheel. And he goes, what kind of wheel? I said, like the Wheel of Fortune, but I'm gonna use it for fugitives. He goes, okay, I'll build it for you. So I went to our chief deputy, Doug Waller, who I call Triple D Doomsday Doug, and I said, hey, I got this great idea. And he's like, oh God, no, we can't do that. There's no way. That's a bad idea, don't do it. And I said, okay. So he and I went back and forth. Well, the entire time Scott's building the wheel. Now, I will tell you, if you're expecting Scott to build you something in 2 days, that's not going to happen, because it took him almost 8 months to finish the wheel for me, because it's so precise. Every one of the pegs is hand laid. It's crazy. All right, the wheel probably cost about $5,000 to build. Even with that, so we finally do the first one. We roll it out, and that first one was seen by 7 million people. Wow. It went viral really quick. What I will tell you is that we continue to do it. UCF just did a study on the Wheel of Fugitive, and this goes back to our community being engaged. Right now, with the Wheel of Fugitive, 88% of the people that are on the wheel either get captured or turn themselves in within the first 2 to 3 days. An overwhelming majority of them are turning themselves in. In fact, what happens is they watch themselves. They are now, on Tuesday night, our fugitives are tuning in to the Sheriff's Office Facebook. It's serious, I couldn't believe it. They tune in to the Sheriff's Office Facebook page, and if they they see themselves on there, if you watch it, I encourage them to turn themselves in. I encourage them to man up and do the right thing. And a lot of them are doing just that. They are manning up and turning themselves in. And it saves us from having to go get them. It actually puts them on the right path to getting their lives straightened out. When they do it, when they turn themselves in, we put them up on our Facebook page and say they did the right thing. You know, please give them support. Let's get them straight in their lives and everything. So it's had overwhelming success. UCF just did their study, gave us the 88% margin that we're looking at. And I will tell you that we had a lot of fun with it. We did one that was called Ladies Night, if you didn't see it. I walked in to record one morning and they said, hey, we're gonna do a ladies night. And I said, what is that? And they said, everybody on the wheel is gonna be a woman. And I said, okay. And they said, we're gonna play music to it. And we're gonna play, oh yes, it's ladies night. And so I made the mistake of dancing as we were filming, and it went viral. In fact, the Daily Show picked it up and had it on Comedy Central, and it went viral again from that. And so today what we find is when we put Wheel of Fugitive up, on most cases, 100,000 people are seeing the wheel. And what's happening is it's putting pressure on the fugitive. So it's working. It's our community being involved. From the time we put it up, I will tell you that when it goes up, within about 5 to 10 minutes, we start getting people telling us where we can find our suspect at. Even more importantly, they're seeing it, their inner circle is putting pressure on them. We had one lady that went live on Facebook, actually went live as she's being driven to the jail to turn herself in, telling her kids, the mean sheriff is making me go to jail, mommy's not gonna see you. She put that up on Facebook, and I gotta be honest, I don't feel that mean, all right? Either way, it's working, and it's a testament to the success we're having. We, you know, solving crimes with our community is what it's all about. Preventing is what we want to do, but when we fail and we have a crime occur, we want to solve it. We had a guy we put up, stole a jar, just like if you walk out here, Sonny's may have a jar sitting up at their counter that's collecting money for a child that's going through, you know, medical treatment or something. The Blueberry Muffin Restaurant down on the beach, guy walked in, stole a jar off the counter, $27. I was furious. I couldn't stand it. I tell our team, in fact, Lindsay does most of our Facebook, in fact, all of our Facebook stuff. I said, I'm gonna put this up. She goes, well, it really doesn't rise to the level. I said, I'm furious, we're putting it up. Literally, we put the guy's picture up. He stole $27 out of a jar. We put his picture up. Within 5 minutes, we got a Facebook message that said the guy is so-and-so. He goes to Pastor Jarvis Wash's church, the real church, and we've already called the pastor. Well, I know Jarvis. I sponsored him for Rotary. So I called Jarvis. Jarvis answers the phone. And as he answers the phone, he says, I know why you're calling. I'm already trying to get a hold of him. I said, okay, when you get a hold of him, I want you to take him to our South Precinct. He goes, I'll take care of it. Within 30 minutes, the guy was at the South Precinct and turned himself in for doing it. That's community engagement. That's the only way this works. The only way it works is if you and everybody else is protecting the community just like we are. So we're having great success with it. I will tell you that being able to outreach to the community. Right now, our Facebook page has almost 91,000 people that have liked our Facebook page. And then they share our stuff. On most weeks, we are reaching between 300 and 500,000 people through our Facebook page alone. That doesn't include our smartphone app we have, our Instagram, everything else. And then, of course, the efforts that our crime prevention unit does. It is an outreach that we are tickled pink with. It has certainly exceeded our expectations for it and continues to do that. But again, it's about being engaged. It's about being involved in it. I've actually got other sheriffs now that have copied the Wheel of Fugitive. They don't have Scott Glover to build them the wheel, obviously, because one of them's got a little one that's on a desk and they flick it. Flicks. I'm like, come on, man, you guys are killing me. That's not the image we want for Wheel of Fugitive. To add to that story, A&E has asked us to allow them to make it a crime time show on A&E. I don't think we're going to do it because they want me to release the trademark of it. And then they can make all sorts of money off of it. That was never the intent. The intent was to put bad people in jail. Amen. So any agency that wants to use it is welcome to use it, but I'm not going to let somebody make money off of it from that. So probably if they'll come around in their contract and say we won't make any money off of it, then we'll talk. But until then, I'm not going to do that. I want it to do the right thing and put the bad people in jail. So it's really neat. neat too to see how many people, when our fugitive unit or our booking desk sees them, says, you know what, I don't ever want to be on that wheel again. I want to get my life straight. And so they take that first step. And I think all of us understand in this room how important taking that first step is to doing the right thing, to get your life straight. And every one of us has been in a situation at some point in our lives where we had to back up and punt a little bit and say, hey, I'm gonna do things differently. And so hopefully it has that effect on them as well. We continue to try and put out as much information as we can about preparedness. You know, we put out a video not long ago called "This Is War," and I will tell you that I titled that video "This Is War" because what we are seeing happening around the country, happening around the globe, is war. It's a war against us as individuals. It's a war against our country, and quite frankly, it's a war against us as humanity. And we have to be prepared for that. You know, when we look at, it used to be that they were gonna blow somebody up on a bus, the terrorists were. Well, they've transitioned from not only doing that to guns, to knives, to trucks. It's whatever weapon they can get. And as I told somebody not long ago, it's not just the terrorists we have to be worried about in protecting ourselves. It's the person that has a mental health disorder, or the person that's mad at their spouse. You know, I mean, if we look just right here in our own community, going back to 1987, you had an active shooter in Palm Bay. In February 15, you had an active shooter at the food court in the Melbourne Mall. Last year, we had an active shooter at Parish Hospital in Titusville. We have to be prepared. So we are continuing to push out our forays of survival, which I know I've talked about with this group. We're continuing to push that out. We've got some new stuff that we've rolled out. Our crime prevention team has come up with a program called Ready, and it is a woman's self-defense class. And it is, it's a little bit of awareness, but it's a lot of physical. We actually get them in there, and it's designed for anybody, regardless of their physical health. There's different components of it. So if you're confined to a wheelchair, there's part of the class that applies to you. It's something we developed in-house. If you know a group of ladies that would like to take advantage of it, it's called Ready. You can call our crime prevention unit, or you can get a hold of Lindsay and we'll get it set up for you. But we're continuing it, and really it comes down to preparedness and awareness. We can't live in a bubble. We can no longer, in this society we are in today, live in a bubble. We have to be prepared for that emergency when it happens. And so we continue to push that out. I will tell you that, you know, when you do videos, even, you know, not just Wheel of Fugitive, but when you do the videos about preparedness and everything else, you're always going to get pushback. There is always going to be somebody that either doesn't support your message or doesn't believe it's the message that ought to be pushed out. I've had people that say, Sheriff, I agree with you 100% that people need to be armed and ready, but I don't think you should tell people that. Well, how can you agree with me and don't think I should say it? So I'm a man of principle. Listen, the worst tool I have is that when something pops in his head, it usually pops out of his mouth. I used to try and find that, but I think, you know, as sheriff, you need to say and do what needs to be said and done to protect your citizens. And I would love it if we lived in a society where I didn't have to tell you to be armed and ready, but we don't. We don't live in that society anymore. We live in a society today where you better be armed and ready. And if you're not armed, you better be able to find something, whether it's a plastic knife off the table or a chair to be able to defend yourself.
Amen.
That's unfortunate where we are, but you see it happening. And I mean, it's happening more and more. And I'd love to tell you that I think we've seen the worst. I don't though. I think it's going to continue to happen with us. I'll touch a little bit on budget, and then I'll open the floor up for any question you have. We have officially presented our budget to the county manager and to our county commissioners. Our budget is actually under the CPI, and by the CPI, I'm talking about the national CPI that really tells us how much taxes are going up, everything else from it. We're under the CPI. We are within that because we've been very, I will tell you, I kind of live my life and I live my budget or do our budget based upon two things: my wants and my needs. They're never the same. I have found that out. I do our budget that way. What do we want and what do we need? And the example I give everybody is, I want a Rolex, but I need a watch. And so that's how we run our budget. And by doing that and being very spendthrifty and everything, we're able to not only bring our budget in at a low CPI, but also be able to get our people raises. which is vital to us. We, for the first time, I was telling Doug just a while ago, for the first time in the last 7 years, we are completely flush with employees. We have been working, our career development unit, our HR team has been working diligently to get us flush. And you know, when I say flush, I mean deputies, I mean corrections deputies, I mean public service aides, everything else. Because for a long time, and the more that happens out there where people are talking bad about law enforcement, it's harder and harder for us to recruit. So for a long time, we were having a little bit of difficulty with that. But we're very blessed. Our agency has gotten a lot of very positive and professional comments, and a lot of experienced law enforcement are now trying to come to us. And so we have to be competitive. Our salary has to be competitive. You know, every time we take a step up and increase our salary, seems like somebody around us does the same. Believe it or not, the sheriff's office, even though it's the largest law enforcement agency in Brevard County, we are the 5th or 6th highest paid agency. Melbourne, Palm Bay, Indian Harbor pay more than we do on the starting side. So we have to be competitive. Orange County is asking for a $10,000 pay increase for all of their deputy sheriffs, and it looks like they're going to get it. Well, what that does to us here locally is now our people that have maybe been with us 2 or 3 years say they're going to pay me not only more to start, but $10,000 more on top of that, and so I'm going to go over there. So you're not only losing the resource when we bring somebody on. From the time I say I'm going to hire Joe, it's a year before he's out on the road protecting our citizens. I got to get him through police academy. I got to get him through an extensive 12-week field training program, and so it's a year before he's out on the street. So I just lost thousands and thousands of dollars of training, of academy, everything else in doing it. So it's important for us to not only be competitive to recruit people, but to maintain people. And if not, then what we're left with is people that are I don't want to say subpar, because I would never put anybody in a law enforcement uniform that's subpar, but what we want is the absolute best of the best. So to be competitive in the recruiting market, we have to do that. But even with that, our budget is below the CPI. We've been very fortunate in the past 4 years. Our budget, I have not asked them to give us anything, and we've still been able to find money to give our deputies raises. This year, they are giving us what looks like it's going to be a 3.5% raise to our deputy sheriffs, which gets our starting salary up a little bit more and is within our contract. Everything in our agency is very healthy. Our fleet, our weapons, our everything else we've been able to maintain very well, and that also adds into our budget being as low as it is. We have increased our participation with the school board. What you're going to see us roll out probably around, I'm going to say October, and I think everybody in this room will like this, is how many of you know what the alternative school is? How many of you know what that is? The alternative school has really become a babysitting format. They get in trouble with school, and then they send them to the alternative center where they really don't have any structure, anything, they can participate or not participate. That game is changing come October, because I am assigning a lieutenant and a corporal to the Alternative Learning Center, and it is going to become a boot camp. So and for them to get to go to the Alternative Learning Center instead of being expelled, their parents are going to have to sign a release form saying they can participate. They are going to either go to school and learn, or they're going to go to the Alternative Learning Center and learn where they don't want to be. They can take their pick. So, the lieutenant that I have chosen for this is Lieutenant Robbie Stokes, who is a former drill instructor, and he has a great way with kids. He has an awesome ability to connect with them, and so through his leadership, they're going to learn what they need to do to be responsible and accountable. Then they can go back to their regular school. Dr. Blackburn has been just a godsend for us. He is a great guy, great leader for the school board, and he is on board. In fact, he's let us start bringing drug dogs back in the schools. We weren't allowed to bring drug dogs into the school. Now we're sniffing every locker and every car that sits on the parking lot. So, and he tells us, if you find somebody on our campus doing something wrong, I not only want them off the campus, I want them in jail. Do what you got to do. So he's trying to create a healthy environment for our students and our children, and that's what we all want from it. So you'll see that roll out in October, and I think it's going to be a game changer. I think you're going to see these kids start behaving and start having to understand. You know, I will tell you right now, the biggest crime problem we have, and I could take it from right now and I could go speak in Orange County and I'd be accurate. I can go speak in Polk, I can go speak in Leon, I don't care where I'm at, is juvenile crime. And if we don't get parents back holding their kids accountable, we are a lost cause. And I'm telling you that from the bottom of my heart and from my absolute belief. You know, I tell everyone, I grew up in Green Cove Springs, Florida, not a big place, but I'll tell you, I didn't know who the sheriff was there. I knew who the real sheriff was because my mom was the sheriff, the judge, and the executioner. And my dad was her witness to what happened. If HRS showed up, Dad was like, "Ooh, that didn't happen that way." Because Mom and Dad were a team. Mom and Dad were also partnered up with the school teacher. And when the school teacher called home and said, "Wayne showed off in class today," Wayne showed off in class. It wasn't a debate. It wasn't the teachers picking on me. It was, "You should be so quiet in the class, the teacher doesn't even know you exist." But we're not there anymore. That's not the society we live in today. It's the teacher's fault, all right? Well, guess what? If it's the teacher's fault, it's Mom and Dad's fault because the kids ought to be behaving. That's the bottom line. I'm telling you, my mom became a school bus driver so she could drive me to school every day of my life. I'm not kidding you. I never to my day rode a school bus my mom didn't drive. I wrestled and played football. My mom volunteered for free to drive to the away games and matches. And my dad, during those games, sat on the front seat, and I had to sit with him. I wasn't allowed to sit in the back with the knuckleheads. I had to sit up front with my dad. And I would literally try to disguise myself so I could get by him. And all he would do, you know, my dad had a great communication tool. It was called his neck. Because all my dad had to do was go, and I needed to sit there. I mean, that's all it took. But the reality is, we've taken parenting away from parents. Society has unintentionally robbed parents of their ability to be parents because we're more scared about hearing a knock on the door from DCF than we are from one of us telling us that your kid's been arrested or your kid's been killed in a car wreck. We have to get past that fear. And I tell parents all the time, if you discipline your kid and you do it right, not only are we going to support you when we get there, we're going to high-five you in front of the kid because they need to know that law enforcement and parents are a team. They need to know that teachers and parents are a team. Because if not, they're kids. They're going to test every boundary we give them. They're going to try and push it to the limit. That's what we did. Every one of us in this room did that, didn't we? Mm-hmm. But the reality is we had parents that kept us in the box. These kids don't. These kids today are off the chain, and we arrest them. They'll go into a neighborhood and steal or break into 30 cars. They steal a car. We chase them. They wreck a car. We run them through the woods, and our dog gets them. We take them to the juvenile detention center, and when they get them there, they say, "Well, it wasn't violent. And we can't hold them if it wasn't a violent crime." So they send them home. They say, "We're going to send them home to their parents." Well, if Mom and Dad were doing their job, we wouldn't be out here chasing them through the woods. But then we arrest them a week later. And now they put them on community control and they put an anklet on them. And when they cut the anklet off, the judge puts another anklet on them. Those days have passed. I'm in a battle right now with the Secretary of Juvenile Justice in the state of Florida. She's a great lady. But she believes that when these kids go out and steal 30 cars, we should give them a hug and communicate with them. Oh, boy. I believe we should plant this size 14 and a half boot I have right there and put them in jail. Because that kid isn't looking for a second chance. That kid is out there stealing your property, putting lives at risk and everything else. So we're in a battle. Governor Scott thankfully supports me on this. And he's told us to come up with a pilot program, and we're going to initiate it in Brevard County. Our state attorney, F.U.E.L. is on board with me. And we're going to hold these kids accountable because that's the only way we're going to stop it. I promise you, if we can get juvenile crime under control, we can drop the crime rate another 10% in Brevard County. Easily, it'll drop. So that's what we've got going on in a kind of condensed version. What can I answer for you? What do you guys have that I can answer? So
I haven't seen any ghost patrols on I-95 lately. Quit that?
Actually, no. You talking about the ghost car we put out? We don't put the ghost car out anymore. It's once they reconstructed 95, it's just not safe for us to put it out there.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But we are working 95. In fact, it's funny. Scott Behringer runs our motor unit. And this morning I was going to the courthouse at about 7:30, and literally cars are just flying because I drive a Tahoe. Cars are just driving by me, and Lindsay gets mad because I stop cars all the time, and then I'm late to get to where I'm going. And you know, you can. I'll put it to you this way: I rode with our motor unit. I love to go out and I ride motorcycles and I ride with them. And actually, they have these really neat pants. They're called breachers. I just got me a pair of those. I've got the boots, so I'm can't wear it. But I went out and rode with them. I've been out several times with them. And the last time I was out, I said, guys, I want to go work 95. And they said, okay. So we went down to the Pineda extension. We set somebody up with a laser up on the extension. There were 8 bikes. Now, all of them were working individually, except for me. I was with our sergeant because they won't give me a ticket book. I'm like, guys, I'm the sheriff. I can have a ticket book. I'm like, no, the chief said don't give you a ticket book. So I don't give a ticket book, but I look good when I stop somebody. So, but I'm there with them, and we set 91 miles an hour as our speed. That we anything 91 or above, we were going to stop.
Wow.
For 2 hours. As soon as we stopped a car, wrote him a ticket, turned around and got back to the start point, another car was ready for us for 2 hours. And that was at 91. You know, I mean, and that was the bottom of the threshold. So we work it. In fact, we're working it several days a week, trying to slow it down. It's amazing we don't have more wrecks out there than we already do. It's just, you know, it's crazy out there. I will tell you, you're going to see, and I hate to be this way because, you know, all of us speed. I mean, who hasn't sped before? Who hasn't done that? Anybody? I mean, I never do. But I hate to be this way because tickets used to be $25 and you paid it and you got, you know, went, oh man. Well, today we write somebody a ticket, it's $225. Some of the people we write tickets to can't afford to pay it, so now their driver's license gets suspended. They're on their way to work, there's a warrant for their arrest, or they're driving on a known driver's license violation. We have to arrest them, now they lose their job. The fallout is pretty bad, but I've gotten to the point where to do something, because I tell my guys, look, if a warning's appropriate, give them a warning. Now, some people can talk themselves into a ticket. It's pretty amazing. Some people actually talk themselves into jail too. You know, we try and work with people and give them a warning when it's appropriate. But we've gotten to a point it's so bad out there that we're just not going to do it. So you're going to see billboards that are going to be coming up, and it's going to have a picture of our motor unit, and it's going to say, "You just passed your warning. The next one of us you see will be real." And if that doesn't slow you down, then when we stop you a mile up the road, you're getting a ticket. I mean, that's your warning. That's all you're getting. And I hate to be that way, but we're losing a lot of lives out there, and a lot of people getting hurt. And the ones that aren't killed are very fortunate in the wrecks they're on. So let me go to Bill, and I'll come right to you.
Sheriff, as you know, I'm one of your largest fans, and I was told by your people that I got more petitions for you 7 years ago than anybody else. I have to ask you a question though. Why would you not want to take advantage of A&E? You are thinking out of the box on more different issues in more different areas, and you could have the same impact that Joe Arpaio had on crime. And you know Joe, and you know that he.
Oh, I went out and met Joe. Yeah.
Well, he's now a radical leftist has denied him a jury trial, and now he's facing at 85 with his wife having cancer in prison. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks to Barack Obama.
My thing with A&E is this. It's simply this for me. The intent of Wheel of Fugitive was to engage the community and to put bad people in jail.
Right, and it's phenomenal.
It is. It's amazing. I never thought it would have.
And you can have it for dogs, and people lost dogs. You can have it for a lot of
well,
things.
we're actually about to do it with the pet of the week.
Right.
We're going
Well,
to
what
use
I'm
the wheel
saying
thing.
to you,
So,
Sheriff, what I'm asking you is, why would you deny allowing all the other sheriffs and law enforcement around this country, especially if the money to be made could be turned over to the victims of criminals, or it could be used for, I used to work in offenders aid and restoration to help first offenders, or to help people. You see all these losers that sit inside our public libraries that are street people, and they're not getting any positive education, and they're adults, they're not the kids you're talking about.
Well, it really comes down to this.
Programs would allow some of
Any
this
agency wants can use Wheel of Fugitive. Even though it's trademarked and copyrighted, we give the agency the license to use it. What I won't do is give a media production company the license to exploit it any way they want, not use it in the way that it was intended to be used, and to generate revenue off of it when we're trying to put bad people in jail with it. If they would say, hey, any revenue we generate off of it, we'll donate to public safety charities or something like that, then that'd be a different game, but they won't do that. That's part of the contract conflict that we've had. So, Neil.
Okay, two things. Lindsay, how long have you been working with the sheriff?
Almost 6 years.
When are you gonna write a book? Because it'll be a bestseller.
Before she came on, I had her sign a disclaimer she would never write a book. So I'll tell you guys something about Lindsay. Most people don't know this. Lindsay helped run, actually orchestrated and organized my campaign. It's a funny story. She was not my first pick to do that. She wasn't even on my radar screen. The girl I picked first to do it, 2 days after I asked her to do it, got a job and couldn't do it. And so somebody told me about Lindsay and said, she understands politics, she knows everybody, she's involved philanthropically, you ought to get her. And I said, well, she's got 5 kids. There's no way she could run the pace I want her to run. And so I went and talked to her and she said, I want to do this, So she worked for me for 14 months for free. During the campaign for 14 months, paid for her own lunches, her own gas, everything else. Never once did she ask me for a job, never once. The day after the election, I sat her down, I said, I want you to come to work for me. She said, what would I do? I said, exactly what you do right now. Control my professional calendar, my appearances, everything else. And she said, okay, I'll do it. We left the meeting we were at, and it dawned on me, she never asked me what she was gonna make. And so I thought, maybe she thinks she's gonna work for free. That's even better. So I called her, I said, do you wanna know what you're gonna make? And she said, well, it's gonna be more than I've been making for the last 20 years. So Lindsay not only does what she does to manage everything I do, she also is our community relations manager. She has, about 10 people that work under you now, 10 people that she supervises, our crime prevention programs, all of our Facebook, all of our community relations. If you go to an event and you see our aviation unit is there, our canines are there putting on an exhibition, she coordinated that. Every bit of that goes through her. So people keep trying to steal her and offer her more money. It's funny though, they back off of it once they're threatened to go to jail.
My daughter can tell you about her mama driving a school bus. When we lived in Crystal River in 1968, she actually kicked a high school kid off the bus. She grabbed him by the ear, marched him off the bus. The principal said, Miss Bradley, you can't get that kid off the bus. She said, watch me. She shut the door, drove off. She didn't have any problem with that kid the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I'm a law enforcement officer today because my mom driving a school bus, and I'll tell you why. On the way to school one day, a kid got mouthy with me, and I slapped him. And it was on the way to school. I was already in trouble. And my mom stopped the bus on the side of the road. I mean, literally, pulled the bus over, brought me up, put me on the front seat. When everybody got off the bus at school that morning, she turned around, slapped me right in the face, said, how'd that feel? I said, not good. She then wrote me up and sent me to the dean. When I got to the dean, Mr. Wilkes looked at the write-up and said, boy, if your own mama wrote you up, it must have been pretty egregious. So he gave me 3 licks. When I got back on the bus, my mom made me sit on the bus on the front seat for 2 weeks and not be allowed to talk, which almost killed me. And then when I got home, my dad dealt with me because I embarrassed my mom and made her write me up and send me to the dean. I made her do that, all right? So at that moment I said, this has got to be illegal. I'm being punished like 5 times for the same thing. I'm going to be a cop. And so that's how I ended up being a cop. So, but it's true. That's an absolute true story. My mom, actually, I teach this class called It's Time to Be a Parent Again. And my mom came to it. I've never been so scared in my life because I talk a lot about my mom during the presentation, how mean she was to us. Now as I look back, how blessed I was that I had a mom. But she was sitting on the front row, and I was literally petrified that she was going to come up on stage and slap me. So, and she would too. So, Joe.
Sheriff, thank you for being here. You're amazing. Since we have a lot of Christian guys here, and we have all different churches in this organization here, what do you see in our local churches with safety and security?
Well, you know, we just, I'm going to say probably now, it's been about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years ago, we did a church safety seminar. We actually put it on up at New Life, and we probably, as a thing about need to do it again, we put it on up at New Life. And I will tell you the first thing that I remember from that was we figured, you know, it was an invite for those that are involved in security at the churches. And so we figured we'd probably, you know, get maybe 50, 60, 70 people to do it. Pastor Linkus let us use the facility there. We had almost 400 people show up for that seminar. And it resonated with me that I'm not the only one worried about security at a church. Everybody else is. So, you know, we've continued to do that. And any church that wants us to, we'll come talk to the congregation. We'll come talk to the security team. We'll help them develop a security strategy if they want. I actually send out our SWAT team commander who works with them to develop a strategy and to develop their hard target scenario that we want. The thing that I'm doing right now is I'm working with the NRA, Marion Hammer out of Tallahassee. We have got to get some clarity on the concealed carry rule at a church. We are going to clarify it, I can promise you, in this bill. And I look at it this way. I believe we got to do away with gun-free zones, period. I really believe we have to get away from those. So a church is a very prime area, target area for victims. And if we're on Sunday morning saying the congregation can't carry a gun because on Friday afternoon it was a school, we are putting those citizens at risk. And I say this to everybody, folks, I really believe this in my heart. No matter how good our team is, when the incident happens, most likely we're not going to be standing there. We're coming after 911 is called. It's you. It's you in that church that for 4 or 5 minutes is going to have to hold down the fort, is going to have to eliminate or neutralize the threat. And we have to give you that ability to do it. That's the big part of it. So, but I would encourage you also, if you haven't already with your congregation, go to our website. There's a video on our website on brevardsheriff.com, and it's called The 4 A's of Survival. 7 minutes. Watch that video. In fact, it's filmed at New Life Church, is where we filmed it at, and it really sets the stage for what can happen. So.
I got a random question. Unfortunately, this has been many years ago. I wasn't a good kid growing up. I got into a lot of trouble. Most of my friends that I ran with had the mindset that it didn't matter what we did as a kid for getting in trouble. It didn't really matter because it wasn't a life sentence. We got out, life went on. And most of the friends that I had broke into cars, houses, all of this. Is there a program out now that can actually help kids before they get to that point?
Yeah.
To change their minds?
Yes. We have 2 programs that I think speak directly to what you're talking about. One is we started a program called BAM, and it's Brevard Attitude Modification. And BAM is for a kid like you just spoke of, that being unruly at home, getting in trouble, hanging with the wrong crowd, maybe tried drugs. It's not for the kid that burnt down the mall. That's not the kid that it's designed for. It's for the kid that, in fact, as I tell everybody, I don't want a judge to sentence a kid to BAM. I want mom and dad to sentence a kid to BAM. I want them to say, my kid's being unruly, I need some help. And man, haven't we all needed help in our lives at some point? So BAM is a 12-hour day. It starts right over at the courthouse. Judge Harris, who is our chief judge, volunteers to do every one of them. Starts at 6 in the morning, and the kids are lined up in front of the judge. The parents have sentenced them to it. They're lined up in front of the judge. Our entire team's there, and the judge starts out asking each one of the kids to say their name and why they are there. And it's really amazing to watch group dynamics as it takes place, because they're lined up to the judge's left, my right. So the judge is sitting there, they're lined up down there, and he'll say, what's your name? And the first one will go, my name's Wayne. Why are you here? Man, I don't know, man. My parents brought me. I don't know why I'm here. And the judge rips into him. And the second one usually has already learned the lesson. They go, my name's John, and I'm a bad kid, and I'm really happy that my parents love me enough to bring me. And then it gets even better as we go down. So from there, the judge sentences each one of them to the BAM program. And they are taken, we take their belts, we take their ties, we take their jewelry, their phones, everything else, we put it in a bag and we give it to mom and dad just like we would if they were being arrested. They're then taken down, they're put in handcuffs and shackles. And a little bit of this message is to mom and dad too, because that part takes place at mom and dad. I want them to grasp what that's going to feel like that day. And a little bit of it I call the parent boot camp. All right, mom and dad need a little bit of training too in some of these arenas. But then they're taken down, they're put on a prisoner transport bus, and we take them out to the BAM facility, which is part of the old state prison. And when they get there, Lieutenant Robbie Stokes is there, and he's going to teach them about life. And what's amazing is the day's 12 hours. The first half is this is what happens when you're bad. The second half, this is what can happen in your life if you're good. Because this is not just a scared straight program. Because scared straight really didn't work. All it did was scare the kids. Once they got past the fear, just like you were talking about, nothing gonna happen to me, they continue to do it. So what I want them to see is this is your choice to make bad decisions. This is your choice if you make good decisions. We have people that come in. Joe Rodriguez from McDonald's brings his team in, and he'll hire people on the spot for us. If they want a job right then, he'll hire them. We're trying to show them how to fill out a job application, resume, how to pick the right friends, what can happen in your life. So we give them those options. During the day, they do manual labor. During the day, they go tour the jail, they go tour the morgue. It is brutal. When they go home, they've had to eat jail food, which would do it for me. I'd be out at that point. No longer be involved in anything. And we try and get them on the right track to try and help them in that regard. It's funny, we had one parent, she brought her son to us. He got in the car after the class, and he's crying. This is a kid that he was so tough when we got him, boy, and he was crying, and his little brother's sitting in the back seat. And he's telling him, I don't ever want to go back there, I'm never going to jail. And the little brother sticks his head up and goes, man, you let them punk you. Just like that. Guess who was in the next class? Little brother. And he wasn't as tough, all right? He was crying before we even got started with it. But we've had great success with the program. Everything we do, we try to monitor if it's success or not. I don't want to waste resources if it's not going to work. We've kept track of the first class, 22 kids. 15 of them have never given mom or dad another problem.
Wow.
And the repeat that I look for is when they are bringing the second kid to us and on and on. So that's one program. The second program that is a little known program, and it actually was started right here in Brevard County through Crosswinds, is called the Civil Citation Program. And what happens, as we said earlier, all of us have made mistakes before in our lives. Some mistakes are intended, other mistakes are just, we don't do the right thing. And so rather than destroying a kid's life that just made an honest, had a flaw in their character for a moment, rather than destroying their life, we have what's called the Civil Citation Program. And so you're 16 years old, you and your buddies went out and went through a neighborhood and destroyed Christmas decorations. When our deputies catch you, we have two options. We can take you to jail for criminal mischief, most of the time because of the cost of Christmas decorations, for example, to be above a certain threshold, so it'd be a felony. Or we can issue you a civil citation. Now to do that, we take you to your parents. Your parents have to sign it, and they have to agree to go through class with you, and you have certain things that you have to complete in order to get out of the civil citation program. If you complete them all, including drug testing and everything else, if you complete them all, then you have no record. It is completely taken off your record. It doesn't exist anywhere. Where that becomes very beneficial, I'll give you a great example. We had two kids that were arrested for the same exact thing at the same exact moment. One of them went the course of the civil citation program. The other one said, I'm not doing that, went through the normal court process. Both of them wanted to go in the military. The military wouldn't touch the kid with the criminal record, took the other kid just like that. So it's designed to give that kid a second chance. Now, just like anything else, if you don't use it right, it's not going to be worth anything. Our state legislator, in the last 2 years, I've been fighting with them, they want to say, well, we're going to give the kid up to 5 times that they can get a civil citation. Yeah, exactly. So to me, you guys remember Animal House? Remember the movie Animal House?
Yeah.
Remember, what was it, Phi Beta Kappa, what it was on double secret probation? Yeah, that's double secret probation for me. No, you get one shot at it. That's what it's designed for. If you can't behave after that, you don't get it. But both of those programs work very well together. Bill, I've already taken one from you. Let me see if there's anything else, because Miss Lindsay is getting impatient. I can see.
Sheriff, I'd just like to say thank you for the pistol course that y'all put on. That was excellent. That was the best pistol course I've ever attended.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we get so many compliments. If you haven't been to that yet, please, how many of you have your concealed carry? Who has? All right, pretty good numbers. If you don't, you want to get it, please come take our course. Go to brevardsheriff.com. It'll tell you the dates on there. We're booked, I think, through January, right? But Lindsay usually holds a couple spots back, so if you get a hold of her, she can get you in. But I will tell you, I get more compliments off that course. We give you a concealed carry packet at the end of it. You're learning from the best of the best. Our instructors are phenomenal, and you can test to that from out there on the thing. So it is truly, it's an 8-hour course. You're going to be tired when you leave. You're going to shoot over 100 rounds through your gun, but at the end of the day, you're going to be tactically prepared to save your life. So, Bill, real quick, don't drag it out.
I think there's no excuse for you, Sheriff, for you not to either get the legislature or the governor to implement this to affect the other 67 counties, and maybe it'll go nationwide, because these apparently seem to be your ideas, not other people's, that you put together and you float them out psychologically.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
you need to have some more advocates.
Yeah.
And show these results to people and get it done.
The things that we do, to me, are just common sense. I mean, and you know, the
The
NRA
other
just,
sheriffs aren't doing it, the other 60.
well, and I'll tell you why, because of political correctness. That's the only reason. I just did a video for the NRA. It's on their channel, and the lady starts out. She goes, "Sheriff Ivey is the most politically incorrect sheriff I've ever met." And I'm good with that. I'm good with that title, because I just speak my heart and I speak my 38 years of experience, and I think that's what you elected me to do. And the moment I get scared of not being reelected because I might say something, now listen, I believe in professionalism at the highest level. There's no need to offend people or do anything of that nature. But holding or sugarcoating what it takes to protect our community is never going to happen with me. I'm just going to say it, and hopefully people will realize
ACLU, what kind of problems are you having with that?
You know, I really don't. The only interaction I've had with the ACLU since I've been sheriff was right when we started our chain gang. We're the only agency in the state of Florida that has a chain gang. I remember as a little boy waking up in Green Cove Springs, looking out in the ditch and them out there doing stuff, and me going, I don't ever want to do that. It's a crime deterrent to me. So I had always said, if I ever get to be sheriff, I'm going to have a chain gang. And so literally it was the very first program I started. We put it into action, and as soon as we put it into action, the ACLU started looking into it. And actually there was a guy here locally, he's moved now, I think he moved down to Fort Lauderdale. He'd been in prison for 11 years, and you see him on CNN and everything, he's an armed robber. And a headline news interviewed me and said, "Sheriff, what do you say to people like this guy that doesn't like your chain gang and says it's bad?" And I said, well, the fact that a convict doesn't like my chain gang really endorses my chain gang. And headline news almost died laughing. But I started it, and they looked into it. Well, you know, my dad always taught me be smart like a fox. And so when we started the chain gang, if you want to go outside and work, and you want to get to smell fresh air and everything, you have to volunteer to be on the chain gang. So even though they're inmates, to be on that unit, they have to volunteer to be chained up and go out and pick up trash. And so when the ACLU found out that they have to volunteer, it takes away them being able to sue me. So we make them volunteer to be on. Now here's the funny part. Now this is what is absolutely amazing to me. In the Brevard County Jail, the recidivism rate for male inmates is 43%. So 43 out of every 100 come back to jail within the first year, which is pretty alarming, unless they've been on the chain gang, and then it's 19%. And it comes down to not only they have to go out and learn to work, they have to go out and work as a team. They don't get anything. In fact, I can tell you what you get if you're on the chain gang versus anywhere else in the jail. They get 3 channels on TV. They get the Weather Channel. I want to know how hot it's going to be as soon as they step out the door. They get the Food Network, so they know how bad our food is, which they already know. And they get the Sports Channel when we want to give it to them. That's all they get. Other than that, you don't get anything for being on the chain gang. But what we do is we not only use them to pick up trash, they exercise the dogs at our kennel. They clean all the kennels. They are involved in our It's Time to Be a Parent Again program, our BAM program. They sit and talk with the kids. In the It's Time to Be a Parent Again program, they sit, 8 of them sit in front of parents just like you, and they can ask them any question they want about where their life turned to crime and what was going on. And so they really become a panel of experts. Well, here's the logic in that. To be able to tell people how to not make mistakes, you have to rethink it and reprocess it yourself. And so it actually helps them rethink their lives and where their mistakes came. 19%. Is the recidivism rate. And I have a waiting list of volunteers of inmates that want to be on the chain. Crazy. I can't explain it. So yeah.
First, thank you and your team for doing a great job. Really. I know you have a limited budget, right? Even though you've kept it within the CPI and all that. are there investment opportunities for us, like BAM, I think it's a great program, where citizens can say, I want money directed to that to help your budget?
There is, yeah. The question, if you couldn't hear it, was, are there opportunities for citizens and businesses to basically donate money or commit money to help our specialized programs? I can't use that money in salaries and benefits and stuff like that. But what I did right after I first came in was, we had the police athletic league that was really, it was struggling, it was failing. And the other thing we had was, I looked and we would have a deputy sheriff who all of a sudden would have cancer. And we would rush to put together a benefit for them, a fundraiser. And then 6 months later, we'd have a local policeman or a firefighter that would have a child born with, you know, severe birth defects or something. And so we'd rush to put a fundraiser together. And I told our team, we preach, don't wait for the emergency to happen to go into action, but that's what we do every time. So I started a not-for-profit, it's called the Brevard County Sheriff Public Safety Charity. And what it does is, it is not waiting for the emergency. It is money that comes from our citizens, from businesses, everything else, and it's sitting there. It has its own board, it's separate from us, and it is designed to help law enforcement or firefighter, not just from my agency, any agency in Brevard County during a time of trouble. Casey Smith, who was shot in the line of duty, his wife was by his bedside every moment. She couldn't run their family business. So we helped through the charity to be able to help them maintain their lives. But along the way, we also took over animal control. And so we started the Sheriff's Pet Posse, which I'm gonna be honest with you, I do not know where the money for the Sheriff's Pet Posse comes from. Checks pour in to the Sheriff's Pet Posse so that we can help our animal center, our animal care center. Listen, our live release rate for this year is 96%. 96 out of every 100 animals we're finding homes for. I just built a swimming pool at the animal shelter for the dogs. And I'm a little bit worried because that place is so nice, I think animals are gonna start breaking into it instead of trying to get them out. But the three charities, my point of that is, the three charities, Police Athletic League, the Public Safety Charity, and the Pet Posse are now all umbrellaed under that one charity. And so we use that charity to help support programs like F.U.E.L, BAM, the different things that we're doing across the board. So anything you can help with, and you can always earmark the money for what you want it to go for. So if you say, I want to help with the BAM program, you earmark that money and then it goes directly to you. So I'm going to close out. I know I went over all my time, and I certainly apologize for that, but I can't thank you enough, not only for everything you guys do to support me, but we are blessed. We work in a community where our citizens love us and protect us. And I'm telling you, that's not going on outside of Brevard County, not at the level we see it here. Our deputies tell me all the time they can barely pay for their meals anymore. Yesterday, we're at Outback, and it's me and three of our three chiefs, and the lady walks over and goes, your meal's been taken care of. And I said, no ma'am. I said, not mine. I said, you can do theirs, but not mine. And she goes, they're already gone. And I said, okay. And so we were so taken back by it that we left, and I thought, I don't know if they left her a tip or not. So I had a meeting I asked Lindsay to run $20 back over to the lady because we were going to put it on our cards and everything. But it's that way for our deputies too. People are so supportive of us. I can't tell you how much that means to our team. We are blessed, and I know each of you pray for us every single night. I know that you hold us close in your prayers, and just know they're doing everything they can to protect you out there.
Amen.
We certainly appreciate it. So, thanks everybody. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me. See you guys. Y'all take care. Y'all be good. Take care. Y'all be good.
Okay, hold on, we got
Hang on, guys.
30 seconds more. We got to thank Wayne. Next week we have a gentleman, Kurt Mowry. What's he from?
Clint.
Clint Mowry. From where?
Church at Viera.
Church of Viera. He will be here, so give him the same kind of good welcome you gave Wayne and his group. Thank you guys. See you next time. Who are you?